Hello everyone, and welcome back to the OSU World Cup 2020. We are here on the final Saturday evening of November to bring you the winners bracket final of this year's tournament. Matchup between two teams who, despite their geographic proximity, have never played before in the World Cup. You have the number one seed, the overwhelming tournament favorites to complete a three-peat in the United States, facing off against the number two seed Canada, a team that has emerged as a true contender this year. Both these teams underwent some pretty massive roster changes prior to this year's tournament, swapping out 4 members apiece. I believe the United States have shown a chance to continue some unprecedented levels of dominance in OSU standard. Meanwhile, Canada on their side, making their first ever appearance in the finals, guaranteeing themselves their first ever OWC badges. I'm this one guy. For this match, I'll be joined tonight by Chillier. Pear, how are you doing tonight, Chillier?
Good evening. It's great to be back. It's great to be here for another weekend of amazing gameplay between teams. We had some very exciting matches earlier today with the previous matchups in the losers bracket. We now transition over finally to the winners bracket finals. This is the match that will decide the team that will be our winners bracket grand final placists, I guess, and the guaranteed second place of the winner of this match. The loser will go down and fight again to come back up to the winners bracket and duke it out in the grand finals next weekend. But Canada versus the United States, the all-NA matchup. This is going to be a tough one to call.
Yeah, these teams have both looked really dominant over the course of the tournament so far. They're obviously, as we said, the number one and the number two seeds, which means they had the best results in the qualifiers stage. They have looked pretty unstoppable in all of their matches. We saw the United States last week with that clean sweep 6-0 over Germany. Canada with a resounding 6-3 victory over the team Japan. Both looking very good in a variety of skill sets. I think the United States, trending a kind of different direction in their picks and bans than Canada. So I think stylistically, this is a very interesting matchup. It's going to be very fascinating to me, especially to see how these teams come in terms of strategy. What they'll look to ban and pick, I think, will play a big role in this match, because the United States has been a team unafraid to use an entire map pool. They'll play the mechanics stuff, but they'll also play the gimmicks. Canada, for their part, has been really good at speed, really good at aim, really good at streams, what we like to refer to as those mechanics maps. So I think it presents us with a very fun matchup on paper, that between two teams that neither of them will be skill capped. These are all players who will be able to perform well in this pool. Of course, the United States, that extra star power, guys like Vaxe, guys like I'm a Fancy Lad. But Canada, no slouch. I mean, they've got Ryuke, they've got Azer, they've got tournament stalwarts, but they've also got some new players who have been doing very, very well this year, like Rupersian, like Nick1324, these are just two teams that match up so well against each other. I can't wait to get into it.
This is going to be the matchup of the weekend in my mind. I know we had a very exciting match earlier between Brazil and Japan that went to tiebreaker. That'll be tough to beat in terms of excitement there, but we do have two teams here that can certainly put up the performances that will keep us on the edge of our seats, I think. You look at both of these teams here. In the United States, I would love to be able to pick out like a select few players, I think, that have been performing really well for the United States this year, and I think it's just insanely hard to do that with the United States. Everyone has been playing so well this year. They've been working together as a team, and everything has just gone well for them, even in the hardest matches that they've had to play in this tournament against teams like Germany and Brazil, two very strong teams, and they have prevailed very, very strongly through all of it. And team, Canada here on the right side of your screen, a team that has yet to badge or receive a badge from any OS World Cup in history, finally getting their chance right now in this second place guaranteed matchup here. They're already guaranteed top 3, and they've had a couple of players this year that have really stepped up to the plate. They made a decent amount of roster changes from last year, And surprisingly enough, 2 of their roster changes, the new additions, are actually some of the best performing players. You know, you mentioned players like Rupersian and Zudinator, who have been absolutely stepping up to the plate as the new players, along with the tried and true roster remaining from previous years. Here you also have Nick1324 being added, so a lot of good stuff from both of these teams.
Yeah, and already getting into the bans, I think we're seeing kind of the result of some of those team changes. You've got guys like Fancy Lad who are really dominant on kind of those gimmick types of skill sets. So Canada choosing to double ban out maps like that with Nomad 4, the tech pick in the Nomad pool, Hidden 3, that kind of awkward rhythm reading pick in the Hidden pool, removed out by Canada. Meanwhile, the United States, as expected, those new players from Canada, very good at double time, very good at mechanic stuff. United States choosing to ban out Double Time 2, Demystify Feast, choosing to ban out Osanadachi, the Nomad ones. They're getting rid of some of that aim, getting rid of some of that raw speed. So you're already seeing, even just in the ban phase, the impact of having those new players in who are so good at those skill sets. The United States, you know, saying, hey, we respect your guys' ability to play these maps. And Canada likewise, you know, trying to say, hey, we know you guys are going to try and pick these types of maps, so we're going to take them away from you. I think, you know, we're going to, like I said, we're going to see, I think, a little bit of similarity between this match and their matches last week, respectively, where the United States is going to use just that ridiculous skill cap on players like Vaxay and Fancy Lad to try and play those more difficult skill cap types of maps. Canada, meanwhile, gonna go into some more of the mechanics with you know, guys like Rupersian just ridiculously good on streams, and Nick doing very well on some of the DT picks. And of course, the previous members, right? You've got Ryuke, you've got Trev Rasher, very good at speed, been doing very well on DTs. So a lot of players with a lot of skill sets, and getting into this one quickly here. United States going with the Hard Rock 1 first pick, a little bit surprising there to me. How do you feel about that?
You know, Hard Rock is something that the United States has shown just absolute dominance on.
Canada pick.
Oh, Canada pick, yeah. But the United States, you know, they've shown that they're very strong at something like Hard Rock over the, you know, the previous stages of the tournament. But Canada, as you mentioned, and we've been discussing a lot, they're such a strong team in terms of base mechanics that even against a team like the United States, they can do some serious damage. Now, I think the United States has a unique opportunity, and they're in a good position with their team where they have the depth and the skill ceiling and even the floor of their players to be able to play all different kinds of maps. So their high level of play it correlates to their high scores and skill on those base mechanic maps, but it also allows them to be really good at those more awkward gimmick niche skill set maps. And Canada, you know, really needs to work around that consistency that they've built for the entire tournament. They've showed us that they're good at these aim maps. We've seen players like we keep mentioning Rupersian, who has really stepped up to the plate this year, and in a lot of other tournaments that he's been in recently. You've had Trev Rasher, who has been a massive help for Team Canada on Hard Rocks thus far. Zudinator, probably one of the best aim players, if not the best, on Team Canada this year, and the tried and true Ryuke, the best player in Canada in terms of rank and you know, general tournament skill set as well. So versatile. They have so much on these good like aim maps, especially like 4 minutes, 200 BPM. This is so comfortable. But you also have the United States, who are running with the tried and true lineup, the lineup that you know can four-way FC maps like this because they do it so consistently. So I guess it's about who's feeling better today. I mean, what are your thoughts about, you know, previous stages of this week for that?
Both these teams have just looked really consistent. Their performance has been so good in all of their matches previously. So I think everyone is here and just ready to go. You know, they'll be practiced, they'll be prepped, they'll have their rosters set, and they're going to be into the first map. So we are going to get quickly underway here. United States, Canada, BTMC Fiery, Vaxay, Blaze, taking on Zudi, Trev, Rupersian, and Ryuke. Map number 1, Hard Rock number 1. First map here of the winners bracket finals. I think this is just a toss-up. Any map like this feels like a lot of players have the ability to just pop off on it. So we're going to have to see here who can just perform the best coming right out of the gate.
We have a couple of early breaks on the slow section here. You have Fiery Rage and Trev Rasher a little bit behind everyone else. There is an early break for Fiery Rage. This map is pretty long, so these early ones aren't going to matter as much. But, you know, as we progress through this map and we get into the key eyes, it's going to be all about who maintains that aim here. Canada's got a good accuracy lead. There's BTMC as well.
Yeah, this is always the type of map that, as Reversion does find a break for Canada, this is always the type of map that, you know, if you are the United States, it's kind of the most losable because it requires you to just be super, super consistent on aim, which, if there's any one skill set that it feels like they've avoided picking a lot of the time, it does tend to be aim maps. But as we see a couple breaks coming in from Canada, that lead's going to come right back on over. Trev Rasher and Recursion both with a couple misses, so Zudi and Ryuke going to have to hold on. Zudi's struggling on the accuracy, though, down at 95%. That's going to help out the United States bringing this gap back.
Score lead is definitely creeping over to the United States, just barely staying on Canada. Any team and any player that finds a miss right now is going to shift this over to the side here. You have Vaxay above 98%. Kablaze not too far behind. Fire Rage and BTMC down on the combo, but higher than Trev Rasher and Rupersion. And with Rupersion breaking, that lead is going to go right over the United States here.
Yeah, these key eyes in the chorus is very easy to find breaks on those big aim sections. You have to be very comfortable with your aim on hard rock maps like this in order to avoid breaking, but the United States doing what they do best, you know, just putting together a combo while the other team finds a couple of inopportune breaks. However, you do see that there is still half the map remaining. Ryuke and Zudinator still on the full combo, so this one not out of reach by any means as of yet.
They're definitely still in this. Canada's not too far behind in any amount of breaks from the United States. So there's Fiery, there's a start.
Oh, and there's BTMC, but there's also Ryuke.
That's not good.
Oh, and Trev Rasher goes as well. That's going to be really rough for Canada. All they have left is Zudinator with the FC, Rupersion with a just under 400 combo. Meanwhile, the United States, to the surprise of no one, still has a double FC alive, Kablaze and Vaxay, or maybe just shy of a double FC. I think Kablaze missed right in the intro. Into this little rhythmic section before some more jumps into the last TI, and I believe it's about all over at this point, unless something tragic happens to the USA in the last chorus.
The shake on Kablaze on that stream was actually much more noticeable than what I've ever seen from her. So the nerves definitely taking effect in the finals match here, especially when you're FCing into this last quarter of the map here. Vaxay kind of doing what he does. Oh, breaks all over the board. Fire Rage, Vaxay, Rupersion, and Trev Rasher all breaking. So it looks like Kablaze is actually going to be the one to carry this one in for the United States on map number 1 here. You know, I was actually kind of hanging around on her stream before the match started, and she was talking about how she didn't really feel like she was playing up to the highest ability today. And, you know, I'm not entirely sure that was true. This is 97.6%. Almost FC coming into the last couple jumps here for Kablaze. Gonna bring it in for the United States against Zudinator's FC for Canada. Look at that.
That's two very good plays from Kablaze and Zudinator. First time, I believe, ever we've seen two female players in the Standard World Cup Finals. I think that's pretty neat to see. And both coming out with near FCs on the first map. Zudinator with the FC, Kablaze the one miss early on. You'll love to see that. But little gender equity for the first time here in Osu. But you know, the United States just doing that thing they do, where they always have a couple more combos than their opponents, and it was not a big gap, but it was just enough for them to run away with in that ending. And yet, Kablaze is one of those players that I think she tends toward the occasional bit of self-doubt, like you were talking about, but always manages to turn up in matches. We saw back during USC when Ohio defeated South California. That kind of performance that we know she's capable of. So definitely a player to watch out for in this match, as she does carry the first map for the United States. Early break point here, 1-0 on their own pick to come, is a very good place to be to start off.
Yeah, great job to the players in the United States. Canada just barely behind. Honestly, it was so close in terms of the combos overall, and the real difference is the combo. If you saw in Vaxay, just above that 1200 and 1250 combo there, was a big difference maker there, having that extra score on one player. And I think we're finally hitting the stage of the tournament for, or rather where he starts to shine. I think Vaxay performs well in the early stages of the tournament, but it really doesn't start to show until these late stages, where it really proves, you know, as you've seen in big tournaments many times before, this is where it kind of comes out. And I think we're waiting to see that on players On the Canada team, you have players like Ryuk who are really good at those high skill cap maps that really are going to have to step up to the plate this week in order to combat a lot of these combos on the United States. And the United States opening up with Nomad 6, the gimmick pick here. This is going to be something that they are very strong at. However, Canada running with players like Azer and Yummy and My Tummy here are going to be very useful.
Yeah, we're talking about the United States and just that skill cap, and I think one of the most important things in tournaments, and something that we discuss frequently, is just trying to minimize the delta between your skill floor and your skill ceiling. You want to have that skill floor as high as possible and play up to it every time, and that's something that so few people can do. Fancy Lad, Vaxe, Bubble Man, some of the few that are really capable of showing up in the matches and performing as they would just like in solo player in practice. And especially on maps like this, where you can have one run where you get 400k and you can have another run where you get 150k, because this rhythm pick is so difficult, trying to maximize that performance versus expectation is very, very key, and it's something that I think we'll see out of several of these members of the United States who are just so fluent with the difficult rhythm, the gimmicky types of maps like this, where it's kind of a stream map, kind of an awkward rhythm map, kind of a reading map. There's a little bit of everything in that finger control department on this one. I don't know that Canada necessarily stacks up on this, but as you said, they do have players who can play just about anything in this pool pretty well. So we'll get to find out here. United States looking to defend the break point, though, and we know how good they are as front runners.
Definitely very good at that. A lot of people have mentioned this year. The United States has definitely taken a little bit of a hit on gimmick map style. They made a lot of roster changes that favor mechanics and a lot of difficult skill sets, but I think the gimmick and kind of like the reading aspect of the United States has definitely taken a little bit of a drop from previous years. Losing players like Toy, Digital Hypno, and Tony have been a big difference for the United States, but it's really good to see that they are still able to put together a roster that rivals that high level of performance. You are going to see Vaxe with the first early break for the United States, so Canada is going to be able to take a little bit of a combo lead here, but the accuracy really helping the United States Fiery Rage on that double S still.
Oh, yeah. Well, not anymore, but I think, I'm a Fancy Lad and Kublaze are such big additions in that regard to this team, because they're two players who are both very rhythmically gifted, just really good at keeping ACK up, really good at comboing difficult reading types of maps and awkward streams like this one. As you see the full combo reset for Canada coming in, the United States is going to try to take an early lead. One thing of note about this map that I think is a little bit interesting is that despite being a Nomad 6, it is over 4 minutes long, which is not something you're used to seeing in this sort of rhythm map slot in the pool. So it's going to bring in the consistency and stamina a little bit more, which is something that's not normally tested with this skill set, and we're going to get to see that aspect of these players a little bit more than we typically would on a map like this. And man, are these players making this look easy for the United States. Finally, Kublaze brings in the second break, but 2 FCs and a big combo on Vaxe. Well, make that 1 FC and a big combo on Vaxe. And Canada's got a shot at bringing this one back despite the break from Trevor Asher.
They have a shot here. It's going to be close. We're not quite at halfway yet. This map is over 4 minutes, so it's much longer than what players would expect, but I'm a Fancy Lad is kind of like the chief of maps like this. This is just what he is insanely good at, is these awkward, gimmick and tech style-ish aim maps that are absolutely impossible for a ton of players in this community. So, to see him, and especially with Vaxe backing him up on that massive combo as well, basically an FC, it is Yummy in My Tummy trying to contend. There is a Vaxe break. But
yeah, that break is not great. It's in a bad spot in the map, but fortunately for the United States, got a little bit of a cushion to play with, plus Fancy Lad Kublaze, both with big combos, so this is one where the scores kind of just increase very gradually because the map is so long and it is so combo dense. But like you said, man, Fancy Lad is just entrancing to watch on a pick like this. You watch his cursor control and his finger control, and it's just a thing of beauty. As he continues on his rampage here, the FC still intact. One of the only players, I think the only player at 97%. So big accuracy lead for him, as well as the combo advantage.
Yeah, this is a massive lead for the United States right now. Kublaze is starting to pull up a massive combo as well, almost at 900. Albeit the accuracy is not the highest, but the combo is going to make a big difference when there's a lot of players on both teams that can't really seem to hold a combo through the harder sections of this map. Namely, you have players like Trevor Asher and Stoop who to be honest, are not like the front runners on maps like this in my mind. However, not doing that bad, honestly. Stoof putting up some impressive accuracy here in Trevrasher comboing through the more difficult sections of the map, but Azer's really the only one standing between the United States
and he's gone.
And he's gone.
You hate to see it. This is the type of map where I feel like you end up with kind of third or fourth player syndrome, because the United States obviously has 4 players who are all able to play this quite comfortably, relatively speaking, considering it's a Finals Pool Nomad 6. Canada does not have that luxury. You can see all of the United States players at 390k or above. Meanwhile, Canada, Trevrasher down at 250k, Stoop just over 300k. But man, just fancy lad. Just fancy lad. Like, I'm going to just point to him because that's all that's left in this one. The United States has a massive lead. If he FCs this, it is absolutely ridiculous, especially with over 97.5 AC. That is absurd on a map like this. He is absolutely having a grand time, and this is a performance to watch. He finally finds the slider break near the ending, but that was amazing from Fancy Lad. Wow, what a carry performance from him amongst a great team-wide play as well.
That was amazing from him. You had a lot of, fantastic backing combos into the end there. Every combo that you see on the United States in that combo bar on the score page there was actually the combo they all had at the ending of the map. So they were 1,000+ combo on all 4 players for the United States there, and it was only Yummy and My Tummy and Azer that were able to contend up there with that. Even then, the lowest score on the United States was Fiery Rage, I believe. I didn't quite catch Kablaze's score before she left, but Yummy and My Tummy, the next closest to Fiery Rage, down by 6k, and everyone else was below that. So amazing for the United States there.
Yeah, Kablaze did have about a 550k, so pretty decent score. Actually, Fiery Rage only with 1 real miss. I think it was just in such a bad spot on the map, and his accuracy was a little lower. So, yeah, that was just. I mean, that's the type of thing you expect out of the United States on a map like that. Something that not many teams can do. Is put up a team-wide performance like that. You know, you saw Stoof and Trevrasher not able to get over about 730 combo. Meanwhile, everyone from the United States had at least a 1200 combo. So just shows the difference on some of these more niche skill sets for some of these teams at this high level. But that is the 2-0. So the United States with the consolidated break point. What do you do now if you're Canada? What's your next pick? Do you think you go to DT pool?
You know, Canada has looked really good on DT so far in this tournament, and I think we've mentioned it a lot that there are so many strong DT teams left, and between the two of them, I think there is some contention in DT. I think Canada could honestly look towards some of the hidden mechanics maps. I think with players like Zudinator, who, to be honest, have been a guaranteed FC for a lot of the hidden picks in this tournament up to this point, would be a big help there. Nomad 2, now that's honestly not what I thought Canada would go for at all. However, with players like Rupertian and Yummy and My Tummy here, this could be good.
Yeah, this is Yummy, Rupertian, Nick, and a 4th to be determined for Canada. We saw what they're capable of on Nomad 2 last round. They put up a really, really good score on the Nomad 2 against Japan, 2.7 million or so. With Yummy almost FCing and Nick and Rupertian as well as Stoop all putting up good scores. So definitely the type of thing that I think is a pretty solid pick for Canada. You know, going just down the list, I guess Hard Rock 1 is the most equivalent to Nomad 1. They just go the next one is Nomad 2, your stream mechanics map. The United States is a team that does not play many Nomad 2s. For whatever reason, despite having several players who are really good at this type of thing, they don't seem to play these types of maps a lot. So Canada going to try to take advantage of maybe a perceived weakness here.
Yeah, this could be a interesting stance from Canada here. I definitely think that they have the lineup to be competitive on this map, but in terms of picking strategies against the United States, there is so much left in the pool right now. We're only 3 picks in, including this one right here, and there is so much left to work with in the pool. I'm not entirely sure where their reasoning lies in picking a Nomad 2 stream map into a team of BTMC, Rectigon, Vaxe, and Apraxia, with a lot of other players that are going to be able to sub in and out depending on the style of stream. So it's almost like they're, I don't know, I feel like they're kind of like backing an animal into a corner right here, where it's like you're pushing one of the strongest stream lineups in the world, back, they are going to explode out of this map, I think. So I think we need to see an amazing performance from Canada on this map to have this go their way, I think.
Yeah, I think though, I mean, this is a reasonable pick just based on if you're picking to your own strengths type of situation. Canada, I think, knows that they're very good at stream maps, regardless of how good the United States is. They're not worried about that. I think the way to play against the United States, I think, is something like this, where you find your strengths and just pick to those, and don't worry about what the other team is doing, because you know the United States is probably going to put up some 6 scores. But just say, this is our best pick, we're going to play it, and we're going to perform on it. And try to take the other team out of the equation, and don't look on the other side, because that's a problem that a lot of teams have against the USA. We talk about the mental debuff, Canada trying to make themselves immune to it, and with this being just a 2-minute long 200 BPM like pure stream aim test, you know, it's easy enough. You miss one time and you end up missing 20 times, so anything can kind of happen on a map like this, and I guess we're going to get to find out here as we're already underway, and you can see what this map is going to be like from the very get-go.
I think this map is going to be very strong, and there's a lot of players you need to keep an eye out for right now. Nick1324 has been performing very, very well on these stream maps here. We've also mentioned Rupersian quite a bit. And then
there's that chain miss. Oh, Stoof, no!
Stoof!
And that's what happens on this map. The space streams. You miss once, and you miss 30 more times. He just missed an entire section of the stream, dropped his Zach way down, lost about 90,000 points. That is what happens on a pick like this. If you miss one time, it's so easy to just fall completely off.
You know, there's not really anything you can do about it either. Recovering is just a matter of when you're able to kind of pull yourself together again. And, you know, Canada has a fantastic triple FC right now, but going up against the United States, running with 4, BTMC and Vaxe still on, they're doing the thing right now. You know, you can't do too much about it, and, you know, that, as we mentioned, that one little slip up there.
And there goes Apraxia and BTMC, so the United States just did the same thing. They didn't miss as many times, but there goes that lead right away. Apraxia missing once again, and now Canada finds a break on Yummy, though. They're pulling away with that combo lead on Stoof, though.
Rupersian and Nick1324 versus only Rectagon on the FC right now. This is going very heavily in Canada's favor right now. Rupersian's accuracy is absolutely insane.
Yeah, this was kind of just the pick for Canada. I feel like this was like where they were going to get a win, and this is where they are going to get a win. They do get a point on the board with the Nomad 2. The three-way miss from the United States just was not it, and you bring in the FC from Nick1324 and the very good plays from everyone. That is a point. The first point the United States has lost in the finals in 2 years now, as they did win, of course, 7-0 last year. So Canada on the board. You love to see it.
That was a really good pick and performance from Canada overall right there. Rupersian not quite being able to hold the FC into the ending, but Nick1324 was able to, and a good two-way performance from Canada to shut the United States down there. Yummy in my tummy, and Stoof, nothing to scoff at as well. Unfortunately, Stoof's placement of his breaks were less than optimal, so the score is a little bit lower there. But nonetheless, Canada, you know, not only getting on the board, but getting on the board pretty early here. 1-2 now. Canada is well into this match. Only 1 point behind. Unfortunately, it is a break point that they are behind, so they are going to have to kind of step it up a little bit for the rest of the match here if they're going to continue running through this. But there is a lot of maps left in the pool. I mentioned I was surprised to see Canada picking Nomad 2 so early, you know, not even just because against the United States, but because there's so much left in the pool that I think that they'll be very good at. So I think getting something like that, the Nomad 2 pick that probably could have gone either way, is going to be a big confidence boost for Canada as well, knowing they got maybe one of the picks that was a little bit more toss-up for them.
And I think that the Nomad 2 was just, like I was saying kind of before, just picking the best map available to you at the time more than thinking about it as a toss-up pick. You know, and you want to, I feel like there's different, you know, strategy to it, but I think just getting on the board and getting a point in was the goal there, and they executed on that. So I'm not even going to, in hindsight, question that since they won it, but I think these hidden picks for the United States are going to be very interesting because they require so many different skill sets, and you know, I'm wondering if we end up seeing that kind of third or fourth player syndrome again for Canada. They've looked pretty good on hidden. You've got Zudi, you've got Azer, obviously two very strong hidden players. Ryuke, Rupertion, of course, no slouches either. But the United States is very good at these types of maps. You know, this is like hidden stream aim, but you know, it's a multi skill set map, which is nice to see. And that's what I think the United States is best at here. So I think I agree with the Canada Nomad 2 pick. I also agree with the United States hidden 1 pick, and I'll just go with that.
Yeah, I'd say that's very fair, and you know, I'm gonna continue my trend of picking out the players I think we should keep an eye out for on this map. You got Kablaze and Aryu on the top row there for the United States. I think the two of them are going to be big performers on here, although Fancy Lad and Vaxe are known for being amazing on these awkward style aim maps here. And of course, Zudinator, I think the resident hidden mechanics player for Team Canada here is going to be one that we have to keep an eye out for as well. But both teams doing well at the beginning here. A little bit of combo behind on Zudinator from something early, but negligible with the accuracy difference between the two countries right now. But Azer!
There's a break from Azer, but this map is another one that's very, very long. It's 3.5 minutes, and it's really unrelenting. I mean, it's 194 BPM, which is well within, I think, these players' comfort zones, but it's something that still is going to drain a little bit after you play an entire map of it. And with such consistent difficulty as you see in this pick in multiple ways. There's another break from Canada on the part of Rupertion, followed by Zudi, down to just 1 FC now. Aryu, the only one to have broken for the United States. And just having to keep up this snap, aim, and finger control through these bursts. Vaxe, in fact, finding a break as well. That's a little surprising to me. But Fancy Like a Blaze still going off, and just Ryuke for Canada, so the United States is going to feel alright for now.
Yeah, they're looking very comfortable on this. Rupertion found another break, and Zudinator has no combo to be spoken for right now. You have a double FC for the United States right now on Kablaze and Fancy Lad really bringing this in. Zudinator's going to find another break. I think this is looking pretty down in the dumps for Canada right now, unfortunately. Vaxe does trade a breakout, but as long as these two FCs hold for the United States right now, they're going to be looking very comfortable here. Kablaze does break, though, so that becomes a little bit more interesting now. There is a combo on the side of Canada, and as long as Azer and Zudinator are able to build this up, this could get pretty interesting right here.
And Azer immediately breaks, and Ryuke immediately breaks. You hate to see it. That was really unfortunate timing. Aryu finds a break right after, but Fancy Lad just keeping on. And like you said, I mean, Canada was absolutely in this, and they still have a chance. There's still plenty of map left, but that's a big combo deficit considering the trouble that Rupertion's been having. Now Azer and Ryuke have been behind as well. Zudinator going to be their top combo for the moment. Fancy Lad, though, once again on the FC. You almost wonder, I mean, Fancy Lad is looking like the one that they're maybe picking around a little bit here. Best performer on the Nomad 6 so far, the best performer on the Hidden 3 as well. Vaxe with another break. I don't know if this is just not his map or what. But fortunately, the United States is being buoyed by, I should say, Fancy Lad on this pick so far.
Definitely seems good for them.
And he finally breaks. It's traded with the highest combo from Canada. There goes Zudinator. And Ryuke being matched by Kablaze and then some. So United States is going to be in a fine spot here on their own pick.
Oh my goodness, what a play from Fancy Lad here. You know, people talk a lot about players like Vaxe in tournaments like this and how amazing he is, but you know, not always invincible. And to be perfectly honest, if you've been keeping up with any North American tournaments this year, Fancy Lad is technically the best player in North America according to the North America tournament results and his performances this year. So, you know, something to keep in mind for this match is 750k plus on Fancy Lad into the end of Hidden 1 here. Now that is a play. That accuracy.
That's another really good play from Fancy Lad, just breaking very near the ending. Not the best of scores from Vaxe or Aryu there, but more than enough with the troubles that Rupertion and Azer had on the Canada side. Zudinator and Ryuke putting up their higher scores, but that was, that map had the potential to be incredibly close with just a couple of luckier breaks for Canada. They were looking very strong on several of their combos there through that middle third of the map, but just kind of fell off a little bit right at the ending and allowed the United States to take it. I think they'll feel okay. I mean, they won their own pick and they made that reasonable. I mean, it was 426K, but like it didn't feel that bad. Canada with their own pick now, gonna be able to keep this pretty close if they can win it. They looked very good on Nomad too. Like, what's the next pick for them based on that? Do they think maybe we stay in hidden, or do they go, you know, maybe into a free mod even?
You know, I think Canada is one of those teams that has looked really strong on the hidden picks, especially with their lineups. They have a lot of opportunity there, but with only hidden 2 left, it doesn't leave a lot of room for them to work with here, you know, especially with hidden 2 being the AR8 hidden map. It's going to be difficult for them to find a strong lineup, especially going up against the United States for that. So you need to be careful if you're Canada right now. I think they have a lot of speed on their side still.
And to speed, they will go as they pick double time number 3, Dice by Bandmade. This is the 270 BPM double time pick, so speed is the name of the game with this one. And this is a skill set that Canada has looked very good at, and United States, maybe the only team in the tournament who have looked as good as or better on speed than Canada so far, means that this one will be contested.
This is going to be a back and forth pick by all accounts here. Something that both of these teams have shown that they absolutely shine in. It is, you know, it's one of those areas of the pool that a lot of teams, you know, when you have a strong DT on both sides, it avoid because of, you know, the contention between both of the sides here. And when you're going up against the United States and Canada, I think that, you know, due to previous experience, I think that the United States has a little bit of an advantage given, you know, the proven DT abilities of their players. However, Canada this year, you know, put a lot of focus onto their DT roster, I think, with some of the additions they made. So it's going to be interesting to see, you know, how that fares against, you know, a lineup like the United States.
Yeah, I mean, notably, these teams did both play Double Time 3 last week. That week's DT3 was, you know, somewhat similar in terms of the speed requirements. The United States won it, but it was really just on the back of the fact that they 4-way FC'd and Canada had 1 miss and 3 FCs. So, you know, these two teams obviously showing how good they are. And this is, I think, arguably one of the easiest and most straightforward maps in the pool. It's really just about whether or not you can hit the bursts at 270 BPM. Other than that, not a whole lot to it. The aim requirement relatively minimal. So it's just about the speed, and we're going to get right into it in a speedy sort of fashion, as very appropriate. We'll see. I think we're going to get some FCs out of this one from both teams, and it's going to be one that comes down to maybe just a couple of breaks on a couple of players here and there.
Yeah, not too much to work with at the beginning here. The accuracy looking really good on Ryuke. This is the type of thing that he's very, very good at, and he's going to be a big player for Canada on this map. We've seen Stu really performing on the speed here, but it's going to come down to whoever finds the initial break here for either of these teams. Canada has it in terms of the accuracy right now, which, you know, a lot of that is being done by Ryuke and Stu here. Trevor Escher finally getting above that 97%. Baxay really looking to
oh, but Trevor Escher finds a break. That is an unfortunate timing, too. Just 1/3 of the way in. We'll see if the United States can run with that. And he was doing pretty well, too. Like you said, just got over that 97% accuracy mark, but now United States forces to 3. We'll see what they can do with that advantage. They have such a strong speed roster. Rectagon, Fancy, Vaxay, Praxia, all looking very comfortable with this. Nobody over 99%, but it's proving to not matter so far as Trevor Escher finds another break. Despite Ryuke at 99.76, arguably the best speed player in the game, but Stu with the break as well. Just 2 FCs now left for Canada. This is getting rough now. Not a lot to work with on that side. They need to hope the United States finds some misses.
They had so much going for them, and we're right at that halfway point right now, so there's a lot of scores that could be dropped. There goes Vaxay, actually the last player that anyone would have expected to break.
This is so unlike him. He's just not quite on it today. Fortunately, the United States so strong, it's not quite mattering yet. There goes Yummy, now just Ryuke left for Canada. The United States backing up Vaxay is not the phrase that I'm used to hearing or saying, but it is the case here so far. Just about a quarter of the map left, and they're in a pretty decent spot now. Over a 400k lead. Just need to bring it on home.
United States as a team looking really good right now, but I do have to be perfectly honest, I do not care in the slightest. Ryukei's accuracy right now is stunning, 99.35%. He was actually at 99.6 and dropped some accuracy there, but coming in to the last couple sections of this map, this is a fast map, so that accuracy is insanely impressive. The next closest right now is actually Vaxay, who's not even FCing. I'm a Fancy Lad and Swaggy Swagster are down on the combo. It's just Apraxia, but unfortunately not enough time left for Canada nearly into the end here. But a fantastic performance from the United States.
That was a sick play from Ryukei, as you said.
That was
ended up with a little lower accuracy with dropping a few hundreds in that 50 near the end, but over 99%, ridiculous. Apraxia, though, matching him with the FC, despite the lower accuracy. Rectigana, just that slider break near the end, the next best, but yeah, the United States just team-wide, just a little bit stronger. Stoof and Trev Rasher having kind of unfortunate timing on their breaks. It was really unlucky where those breaks occurred, because they lost a lot of score on that. Trev dropping all the way down to 600k, Stoof at 700k. But the United States, it's weird to see. I mean, Vaxay bottom scoring and ending up getting carried by Apraxia and Rectigon on that one. But if it works, it works. You'll take those if you're the USA. You don't care who carries as long as you win the point.
So a good run in here from the United States. Immediately picking No Mod 3, not wasting any time here. They're going to get into all of their picks in advance. They are very carefully playing this out. I imagine the United States is known for being one of those prep teams that if you go up against them and you don't have a serious amount of work that you put in before, that you're going to be kind of on the low end of the match here. Canada is one of those teams that is definitely more prepared for their matches. They higher effort than a lot of other teams in this tournament, so both of them kind of running with this here. But the United States now up 3 points, with 2 of those being break points from Canada here. They're going to look to grab their next pick to force it to being only 1 away from forcing match point.
I was wondering how you were going to save that one. 1 away from making it match point. Yeah, this is, again, the United States utilizing that strength of theirs where they have such a deep roster on even the more awkward picks. You know, we think of Nomad 3 as traditionally kind of an alt pick, but this one is such a snap aim control pick because it is so fast. I mean, it's 270 BPM. You have to have ridiculous cursor control, and who better on a team to pick a cursor control map than guys like Fancy Lad, guys like Fiery Aryu, and of course Vaxay, who is having, and I say this in the best possible way, he's having possibly the worst tournament day I've seen him have. But it doesn't matter because he's still putting up really good scores.
Really, Vaxay is just, I mean, he is outscoring quite a few players on Canada. Even though, you know, it could be argued he's not having the best day, but that's, I guess, the whole point of a 4v4 team tournament is even if you're not having the best day, you hopefully have your teammates to back you up. And right now, the United States, no shortage of backing combos. Fancy Lad back in for the No Mod 3 here. He is running on some seriously good scores on everything he's played today, looking to run for that. The last time we saw a big alt map performance actually came out of Aryu for the United States, so keeping your eyes on him.
One thing I love about this USA team is their ability to utilize everyone on their roster, so carefully constructed to make sure they had all their bases covered coming into the tournament. Canada, likewise, though, set up a team that was going to be competitive on any type of map pretty much, and we'll see how they perform on this. Haven't seen a ton of maps like this from their side. They didn't look great on the Fremont alt pick last week, losing that one to Japan, but it's a new week, it's a new pool, it's a new map, so they'll get to reset that one. And everyone's starting off with some very strong combos in this intro. Reversion holding on to the SS through the first about 330 combos.
Great job from Reversion holding it at the beginning. He's attempting to go up against Fiery Rage right now. He's also holding the double S. You have a little bit of an accuracy lead on the United States with Fancy Lad and Vaxay's accuracy as well. Aryu now joining them in the 99+% club there. Azer and Ryukei not too far off, though, only maybe 1 or 2 hundreds difference from all of that. So this is going to be a close one as we get into the first Ki here. We're going to be looking for any break.
The tension is ridiculous, and Fire Rage is going to be the first to break. Ryukei, though, follows right after, so Canada does not get to take advantage of that miss. Aryu, though, missing on the long slider. Aryu and Azer following it right up. 2 breaks, and both just traded immediately right back. Fancy Lad, Vaxei, and there goes Repulsion. Is somebody going to trade back for that miss, or is USA finally going to get the first advantage either team has had?
This is going decently in the favor of neither team right now, surprisingly. You know, the United States, they do have those 2 FCs, but any break here, we're right around that halfway point. Unfortunately, Fancy Lad and Vaxei looking really strong on this big jump section here. Both of them hitting the space, too. And it's just
those patterns are so ridiculously tough, and these players hitting him like they're nothing. You know, the classic Evil Elvis, very difficult, awkward aim, almost movement mapping-esque style here. And the player is just looking calm. There goes Zoodinator, though. Finally, the last FC is gone for Canada. That's going to be, I think, despite almost a third of the map left, that might be their nail in the coffin on this pick, because Fancy Lad and Vaxei are just casually, as you will, FCing the map, because that's what happens.
Yeah, I mean, there's unfortunately nothing you can do. We've talked about it in a lot of other matches where it's not that Canada's playing bad, it's just that the United States has an FC on their side, at least one for every map. Fancy Lad finally breaking on the sliders, but now we are seeing the Vaxei that we expect to see in a finals OWC match, hitting quite literally the hardest patterns I have ever seen on an ulting map in my time.
I'm a little scared for what the Grand Finals Nomad 3 is going to look like after this map, because I don't know how they're going to top this. But yeah, you know, the minute we finally say something negative about Vaxei's performance, he goes and does this. I mean, I guess that's just to be expected, right? You can't keep the kid down. And so he's going to go ahead and pull out at least a near FC and a top score on this map by a pretty considerable margin, United States. Well, it started off close, and it did not remain that way. Vaxei with the FC, United States with an 800,000 point win. Hey guys, Vaxei is still here. He is still playing, and he is FCing the pick, and that is 5-1 now. Double consolidated breakpoint, United States.
That is crazy from Vaxei there. Fancy Lad with that accuracy as well, 99.48. Only the miss and slider break into the ending. And notably, Fiery Rage, 4 100s. Accuracy really only taking a hit because of the misses and slider breaks there. But everybody on the United States doing amazing on the accuracy. Even Aryu, who was just a little bit behind Fancy Lad and Vaxei, kind of being in the shadow, putting up that third top score. For the United States, almost topping everybody on Canada's with the exception of Zoodinator there. So, you know, the United States, they know exactly what they're good at, and they pick for it, and they do really well on what they pick for. So, you know, the only difference here is Canada going to be able to respond with a pick to get themselves back into this. I would say, you know, it's not over yet. It's certainly, there is room to work with here, especially with the United States not being at match point yet. Canada does have that little bit of breathing room. However, there is still a long ways to go for them with the amount of maps in the pool dwindling.
Yeah, and, you know, if you're Canada, you pick the DT3 and you lose it. If you had thought about other double time picks, do you still have them in mind, or are you saying maybe that skill set's not for us today? As you said, the maps start to dwindle a little bit, and they are going to stay with the DT pool. That was going to be my guess, was DT4, and it is the one that gets picked. Existence by Soundholic. This is a very finger control oriented double time. Instead of being raw speed, about 40 BPM slower, but much heavier into the finger control. Again, a relatively straightforward DT, and one that I know, if nothing else, Fancy Lad is in love with. I have heard tell of his practice sessions on this map alone being pretty ridiculous. So, one that at least he's going to like, but I think Canada, again, pushing their own skill set here with that DT speed and figure control on their side, and giving themselves another chance at a pick that they'll feel comfortable with.
I think Canada looked very good on the last DT that we saw. Unfortunately, losing it in the ending with Ryuke's FC was absolutely crazy for that. And I think if they're able to rely on his combo along with some backing from the other players on Team Canada here, this definitely could still go over to them. This is a ridiculously long DT map as well. I know that 5 minutes and 29 seconds is not the double time length. I believe it is without double time, 5.5 minutes.
I will. It's something to do with, like, it's not entirely mapped. So that's actually, like, the total time, not the drain time. There's, like, a minute less of that time. It's a weird situation with how this is done in terms of length. I think it's something like just under 3 minutes.
Perfect. Well, good for the client. Very fun. But, you know, the United States looking to continue their DT. I don't want to say, it hasn't really been a stomp, because the United States has definitely been pretty close on some of these DTs, despite a lot of people who have been watching this tournament and keeping up with it thinking that they are still one of the strongest DT teams in the tournament. But a lot of them have been pretty contested so far. The United States, obviously a strong team for that, but Canada really giving them a run for their money, especially with, players like Ryuke finding FCs on grand finals, DT3s, when nobody on the United States does. It's really just that overall team performance that's keeping the United States up on these DT picks here. So, as we get into the Mirage DT here, be looking for any of those players with that finger control to hold up here at the beginning.
Yeah, this is going to be so tricky on that finger control element. These guys have to be in such great concentration in order to play this properly. I think this is got to be just a practice map, right? And remembering the length of all these bursts and the cursor control and aim requirement to hit them properly. Really looking pretty comfortable in the beginning, though. No breaks the first couple hundred combos, so solid start. It's a long way to go, though.
Yeah, there's nothing really super uncomfortable about this map. I mean, the BPM is fairly normal for most of the speedy DT players in this lobby, and at AR10 as well, there's not really anything that's gonna prove to be the standout difficulty besides that finger control. So it really is just about that. And there goes Yummy in my tummy.
And that was just, I think, a simple misaim, unfortunately, on one of those sliders. Not lucky, basically, and another break from a little bit of cursor control issue on a couple of those bursts. And those are going to bite him because that's, that kind of third of the way in. You don't want to find breaks there. United States still on the four-way, and Vaxe and Apraxia with some really good accuracy. Meanwhile, Stoof, 99.19, acquitting himself well despite the technical difficulty of this pick. Unfortunately, Canada going to find themselves a few hundred combo behind with that Yummy pair of misses. No, the misses themselves were not Yummy, but the misses were from Yummy.
The Yummy misses. All the jokes here.
What are you going to do? I mean, the United States just holding on to this four-way. We'll see how long they can maintain it, but that lead is growing up over 130, just about 130,000 points now. Still a third of the map to go, though. Lots of time left.
Yeah, there's a good amount here, but, with that score lead growing pretty quickly in the favor of the United States right here, Yummy in my tummy has started to build up a combo as we get into some of these longer streams here, but nobody really struggling on them. It's really down to those misaims earlier from Yummy in my tummy. The accuracy is in the favor of the United States, though, so I'm not sure if it would have made a difference into the ending with the FCs. It would have been very close, especially with Stoop's accuracy, but nobody on the United States breaking. They're just so comfortable on this map.
There's just, about 250 combo left. I don't know if there's enough time. There's a break from Ryuke. Apraxia finds a miss at the same time as well. But that was very fortunate for, if Apraxia had been the only one to break, I don't know if there would have been enough time. It would have been very close, but not going to be any way for Canada to bring this one back, I don't think, now. Is it going to be a three-way from the USA? This is actually just going to be a three-way from the USA and a two-way from Canada?
This is really good from both of these teams here. Despite how the map looks compared to the other DT, this is a very difficult map.
Yeah, 4.2 million. 4.2 million three-way FC.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah. Grand finals, the finals, by the way.
Finals pool three-way FC. And Vaxe with the top accuracy, showing back up after a couple of little difficult maps for him, maybe, but getting back in the swing of things as to normal for him. Apraxia, the only breaks for the United States, but yeah, I don't know. You three-way that, and your fourth player gets 867k. That's not too shabby. That's just United States things. And that is the 6-1. That is another break point, and that means we have quite a few match points for the USA now.
That was Canada really they have put up some great performances, and I mean, you even look at Stoof, second highest accuracy and score in the lobby aside from Vaxe on the United States there. So Canada, they really do have the players to contend in a match like this, and to be honest, against any other team than the United States, I say Canada absolutely destroys every other team thus far on this pool, which is probably a good thing for them because they're at match point right now, and the morale, I can't imagine, is the highest thing in the world. I think they're Team Canada has been kind of going around Twitter lately saying that they were going to try and have fun with this match, and unfortunately that's the mindset that a lot of teams come into this tournament with against the United States, a team that just kind of runs through matches against some of the strongest teams in the world and still only lets up a point or two, to this other team. So it really is just about Canada really persevering through these picks here, still putting up amazing scores against this, and I hope that they really come back with a vengeance.
Yeah, it's the thing we say about pretty much every team in every match. Your expectations have to be tempered against the United States, and you have to come in and you can put up very good scores. You can put up scores that would beat a lot of other teams and still lose, and that's just kind of what happens against the United States, and that mentality of any other team coming into OWC is playing a little bit for second place, and it's an unfortunate reality for, I think, a lot of players who are very, very competitive, but that's just what the USA does to people. They're so good on these ridiculously difficult late-round pools, and as you said, Canada has put up some very good scores, and as we get into Free Mod 3 here, they're still down 6-1. I mean, it's nothing against them, it's just how good the USA is. And we're now going to see the, I think, most difficult map in the pool, Free Mod 3, the Mazarin Free Mod. This is a Mazarin slider tech map, which is not something that you say or hear or see very often. It's going to be Fiery Rage on Hard Rock, Airyu on Hidden for the USA, running your normal top 2 players on Nomad Strat, and meanwhile Canada, Hard Rock on Yummy, and Hidden on Zuri, Zoop, and Ryuke on the Nomad plays. But this is a map where if you play Hard Rock, you are kind of tanking that mod for your team no matter what, and it is just about how the rest of the players do. As we see the first break coming out, Fire Rage on that Hard Rock, and from Stu on Nomad back in Canada.
Yummy and My Tummy's kind of beasting right now. That was some of the most insane slider pattern I've ever seen that he hit. Does finally find a break with the Hard Rock, unsurprisingly. But Ryuke and Zudinator...
It's a full reset. It's a full reset for
Canada.
Canada.
Stoop too. Oh.
It's Canada's gone. I'm sorry. This map, this is what happens. You play the United States and they pick the hardest map in the pool and they have 3 full combos through 500 combo in and Fiery Rage with just the 1 break. I mean, there is, I don't think, another team who can put on the type of performance that they can on maps like this that are at the absolute skill cap for so many people.
This is, at a level of play, and not even just at a level of play, a level of consistency that so many players aspire to reach that play tournaments. And, you are looking at a lobby of 2 or 3 players that have hit that level of play right now. We're not even going to mention the fact that Vaxe is almost at 98% accuracy right now, even with the no mod. That is absolutely impressive. Stoof on the no mod at 96. These mod players are the real MVPs of this match on both teams here. Any player that takes a mod on this map is just absolutely chatting this out, because this is a difficult map, and that's an understatement to say the least here. Yummy and My Tummy and Fire Rage, despite the 230 Ks each with Hard Rock, that is an impressive score with Hard Rock. And whatever Vaxe is doing right now is, despite what most may think, is not normal, in fact. This is insane.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I was talking to Apraxia before this match, and we were talking about this particular map, and he said that Vaxe actually, sight read this map with Hidden and got something like 350k on it. That goes to show just how difficult this map is, that Vaxe comes in, sight reads it with that kind of score, and he's going to go into the match and actually play it with no mod anyway, because that's how the United States strats for these free mod picks. But the ridiculous skill level required to play this map confidently is just insane. And you can see Vaxe now pulling away from the crowd, 730k and going. Nobody else over 400,000 points on the Canada side, just Fancy Lad.
Oh, look at all
And he hits all that too. All right.
Look at all those breaks.
So I don't care what. Okay, I guess Vaxe having a bad day. Vaxe is no longer having a bad day, you guys. He might have been having a bad day for about 2 maps. That is long gone.
This is, surprisingly, Vaxe is the only FC, and it's an amazing score, but Canada's got a lot of combo as a team at the ending. Unfortunately, it was too late. And Vaxe just kind of, he just came in and did whatever he had to do. This team was like, hey, we want to win this match. And Vaxe goes, I got you. And just FC's the map because we're on a finals pool, and Vaxe can still FC stuff.
Yeah, I want to mention, when I first saw this map, my initial thought was whoever can get 2.2 million team score on this map wins it. And I think that was a pretty reasonable assessment. 2.13 million for the United States, and they win it pretty cleanly. And yeah, that's a 7-1 victory. I guess we neglected to mention that is kind of the match being over, but just too busy being hung up on how ridiculous that play was from Vaxay. My goodness, the FC out of him is just insane. And so for the third year running, yeah, the United States will be your first members of the Grand Finals matchup. They advance onward. They are now guaranteed a top 2 position. That is nowhere near good enough for them. You know they're going to come into that Grand Finals as prepared as ever. And that means Canada is going to drop down and await the winner of tomorrow's match in the losers bracket final. So, I don't know. What do you have to say about this match? The United States is just really good.
They come back every single year. They change their roster. This is the biggest roster change we've seen from them in years, with 4 full changes of players, and it affected them nothing. Nothing changed, essentially. The United States is still running through matches like they did last year, and it just goes to show the depth of skill on a team like this. It is just so difficult to put a stop to what they can do. And I think we can only hope for the rest of the tournament that these teams are able to pull themselves together and, give USA a run for their money. I think something that the United States has been lacking over the past few years is a team that genuinely can come out and scare them off of a pick. And they're running off of this super high confidence. And I feel like it's exponential. The United States knows that they win picks like this, and other teams go in to play against them, and they know the United States has that confidence, and they know they can perform like that. And I think it's kind of like that double hit for the players here. So, I think what we really need to look out for is who is going to have the opportunity to go up to the grand finals from the losers bracket and face off against them for that second place spot, and maybe, just maybe, shut the United States down finally. But it is up to that losers bracket match that we'll be seeing in about 13 hours, and then next week the losers bracket grand finals as well.
Yeah, so we have Japan versus Germany for the remaining spot in the top 3. And I think Germany looked ridiculously good against Australia today. I think Japan just eked out their win over Brazil. So it's 2 teams coming into this match from very different preceding matchups. And yeah, I mean, one of those teams is going to face off against Canada for a chance at, you get to see the United States on a grand finals pool. Maybe, just maybe, something can get very interesting. I think Germany, what they're capable of in terms of skill cap, but it's just a matter of how they perform if and when they get there. Canada's going to have something to say about that, and I think Japan would like to as well. But we'll have to watch those matches and see, because I think the Germany-Japan matchup is a little closer than it might be expected to be. And then I think the matchup resulting against Canada will be a very good one in that losers final. The United States will get to look on, kick their feet up, and watch a couple matches to know who their opponent is. But like you said, all the confidence in the world from this United States team. They have been unbeatable for the past now 3 years, and looking to continue that streak with this dominant victory over Canada tonight. That was a great performance, as we've come to know and expect from the United States.
Amazing from them. So congratulations once again to the United States for making it to the winners bracket grand finals spot. They are guaranteed at least second place now, and it really is just left up to that losers bracket. Canada still guaranteed top 3, and that winner of Japan versus Germany will get either that second or third place spot. So a lot left to come in the tournament. We have the one more match tomorrow, followed by the grand finals map pool showcase, and then it is the culmination of the many weeks of work in this tournament for the grand finals the week after that. So please stay tuned for the match tomorrow, and I'm gonna let T1G sign us off here today.
Yeah, so again, a big thank you to everybody for watching. A huge congratulations to the United States on another dominant victory. As Chillier said, we'll be seeing you guys tomorrow morning, 13 UTC, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. in Korea if you're into those time zones. Be there or be square for that matchup, which will determine our final team in the top 3, followed by the Grand Finals Map Pool Showcase tomorrow. 18 UTC for that one. And make sure you guys are armored up with your banners to support your favorite team. If you don't have a Germany or Japan banner and you want to support one of those teams in tomorrow's match, make sure to head on over to the Osu store, pick one up for yourself before those matches get underway tomorrow. But other than that, I hope everyone has a great night. Thank you for being here. We will see you tomorrow morning.
Could make you fall from the dreamy skies.